Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here for another episode of Random Encounters, show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in games like Dungeons and Dragons, and use them to randomly create a cartooning prompt, kind of like you would at an improv comedy show. Call out to the audience for ideas. This time, I do reach out to the audience. You guys are more than welcome to throw ideas out, and I use them as much as I can. And but I start with what's on the random encounter tables, kind of like a theme thing, you know. So we get a who and a what, slam them together, and then I draw a cartoon of it for your entertainment and mine. The whole premise of the show is that drawing is fun. It's fun for me, and hopefully, if you're tuning into this, watching it is fun for you. But I tell you what, tell you a little secret. I think actually drawing would be fun for you too. So I encourage you to grab a pen and paper, or a pencil and sketch pad, or an electronic tablet and an electronic tablet drawing device. I happen to use the iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate, none of which sponsor this event. Completely unsponsored, though, as I've been saying for more than a year, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to offers. Hello, Becky. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to see you here today. All right, so let's stop blathering. You know me. I'll just blather as long as I can. First I'm gonna do this here. You can't see what I'm doing, but it's important to me. Why did that happen there? Now none of this is going to show up for you. Can't see what I'm doing, but it's I need to get organized. I need these things to work right in order for me to perform up to expectations. Hello, Dave Lemon. How are things there on the couch? I'm guessing you and Gus are there. Hello to everyone who's there. And let's get to it. Time to hop over here and hit this button, and you can now see what I see on my tablet. These are the random encounter tables we're going to use for tonight. And I'm going to come over here to an electronic die rolling app, and we are going to roll a die twice to get that first prompt up, and then start drawing. So here we go. Once, twice, a third time. We got a 1 for our who, and a once, twice, third time, a 5. 5 for our what. So come back and see that a 1 is a Mindflayer, which we've had on the show quite a bit. If you are new to Dungeons and Dragons, that's a creature that's got kind of an octopoidal head with tentacles where the mouth should be, and it feeds on people's brains by grabbing with the tentacles. They're really creepy looking and lots of fun. And 5 was Stargazing. Mindflayer Stargazing. Of all the things we got on that list, Stargazing is the one that really is least Mindflayer-like, in that it doesn't have to involve another person. But here we go. Let's do it. Let's get on here. I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit and do some sketch. So we've got a Mindflayer Stargazing. I mean, I could have the Mindflayer wrapping his tentacles around the person that's looking into the telescope, into a telescope. We've got a telescope there. And the Mindflayer could be doing that. Could just have the Mindflayer looking themselves, but that, we want to take advantage The thing about doing cartooning, you want to take advantage of the funny things, the unique things about the characters that you're using. In this case, if the mind flayer doesn't have someone's mind to flay, you're just kind of missing out. Now, sometimes I'm getting pretty good at drawing this some guy just sitting there drooling. I think I did that in the last mind flayer picture we had. Maybe I'll pull them over a bit so that we can have star-filled night. And maybe our mind flayer will be thinking. The first thing that comes to mind is the 2001 quote, "It's full of stars." But I'm not quite sure how funny that is. But as a sketch to start drawing on, that'll do. It's gonna handful of telescopes and lenses. Says Becky. I'm not quite getting the thought there, but that's all right. We're gonna go to lines. I'm gonna start drawing here, and we'll start with the mind flayer since that's the most important part. So I always say you should start. I'm gonna go with a thicker pencil or brush. You should start with lines that you're confident in. Because you will do things that need to be changed, but you want to get your drawing started with something that you're pretty sure is going to stick around. So, do this. I'm going to have the hair of the person here, so you know they're always a sign that a mind flayer might be working on someone if they're drooling. There we go. Mind flayers are very, very thin and gangly. In particular, they've got long, thin fingers that are not tentacular, um, but they do have that same long and thin quality. Go. Our poor little victim. Oop, I just put us back into the middle of the mind flayer's sleeve. And then we're going to draw ourselves a nice, a nice telescope. Now, you notice I went back and switched that. When you're doing particularly a piece of equipment, if you've got a long straight line, you probably want to draw it all in one motion. One motion. The more you break it up, because down here you see that this half of the line and that half of the line are very different because I broke them up. They don't line up exactly. One is definitely straighter than the other, so I'm going to redo this one. Now, as drawing digitally, of course, I could have just drawn it as a single line and erased the part I didn't need. That's one of the beauties of working digitally. But I didn't want to. I'll do it old-fashioned way. Having said that, for those circles, I'm certainly not going the old-fashioned way. I'm taking advantage of the fact that this program, Procreate, as I said before, gives you the option, if you draw something that's roughly round, it will smooth it out and make it actually round. And if you hold your finger down, it will even take it from being an ellipse to being a perfect circle. So here, let me show you again. So if I draw something that's roughly round, it'll snap it, and it makes it around, it makes an ellipse. And if I do this other thing, if I touch the screen, it becomes a perfect circle. Very handy. Same thing happened, I don't know if you noticed, with the straight lines. If I draw a roughly straight line, and I hold it still, it snaps into an actual straight line. I've said several times before on this show that whenever someone comes up to me and tells me, I don't know how you do the drawing, I can't draw a straight line, I tell them, neither can I. Before I was drawing digitally, that's why I had rulers all over the place. And now that I'm drawing digitally, I just take advantage of the fact that I can get a machine to do my straight lines for me. Straight lines and circles are hard for everyone. Dave says they're not really surface creatures. The context, yes. The Starjammer or Spelljammer is D&D campaign setting, which takes place in space, and where the Illithids, the Mindflayers, are very important. They've got their own special kind of spaceships, the Nautiloids that Dave was talking about. I guess I just wasn't feeling very spelljammery. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to color this. I'm going to turn off the sketch layer and see what we got. Add a few more little lines in here. So that it works the way I want it to. So it's easier to see what's going on. And then I'm going to do some coloring. And then I'm going to add in a quote, a word balloon at the end. All right. That's looking good. So we will come to the colors layer. And I'm going to switch to the gloaming brush that I like to use, which is a roughly crayon-y, magic marker-y texture. So it lets me do this loose style of coloring I like to do, where I don't have to worry about filling everything in exactly. In fact, I'm using the shapes within shapes to create the feeling that this creature has texture, that there are more details to it than has actually been drawn in there. Yellow for the eyes. And purple again on the hands. I'm going to have him wearing a black cloak. It's not really going to be black. It's going to be that faux black using a dark blue. Here again, I'm going to use that shape and that shape and that shape to give that feeling that there are more details to the folds in this robe. And say if you use that on your coloring when you're using markers or crayons, you can get the same kind of effect at home. Okay, let's see what I want to do. I want the skin to be pale and ashen because the Mindflayer's sucking his brains out. And then we'll just go for no, maybe another blue. No, I'm trying to think about what other colors I'm going to be using. So I want to have the night sky be a bluish color. So I don't want his shirt to be blue. Also don't want his pants. Normally I'd throw like a blue jean color on the pants, but I'm going to go for a brown, like a corduroy or something. I don't know why I'm worried so much about what this guy is wearing, but I am. Okay. And we'll go again with that something blackish. Slightly different color, but same effect for the shoes. I'm going to pull that back a little. It's not quite. Oh, still want it to feel blackish. Right? Yes. Yes. For the ends of the lens and the viewing lens of the telescope. Almost forgot the word for what I'm drawing there. I'm going to put that on there. Why am I putting that on? I don't know. Just so there's a little color to the to this telescope, so it's not just a tube. It feels like there's something going on there. There we go. Look at that. What a fine looking telescope he's using. And then I will go and pick a green shade to do the too dark. How do I know it's too dark? Just experience. If you've watched a show a lot, you'll notice it very often. I'll get to the end of the drawing, and I'll realize that I've made the colors a little too intense, and so I use. I'll drop the opacity, which is to say, I will make the colors a little see-through and let some more white into them to drop the intensity. But I'm trying to be better at picking the right color from the start. All right, that's looking good. And now I'm going to actually make another layer here. I've done this before sometimes when I'm doing big background colors because I want to be able to do this with a broad sweep of my brush, but I don't want to have to be worried about the fact that it's going to go over some of the things I don't want to color. So if it's on a separate layer, I have the advantage that I will be able to come back in and erase that. Since it's on its own layer, anywhere that has come over, I can just erase it now without touching the colors underneath it. Whereas if I did it on the same layer with everything else, well then I'd have to be careful because I couldn't erase one without erasing the other. Here again, same thing. Oop, too much. I want to erase any of that blue that got behind onto the telescope. Like so. Back here, again, same thing, same thing, same thing. There we go. And then I'm going to add another layer on top. And I'm not going to use a gloaming brush anymore. I'm going to go back to my inking brush, my more solid brush. And I'm going to use a light pale yellow. Make the circles bigger, and then I can add in some stars all over the place. Now, one of the nice things about working digitally here is if I'm just touching these dots, the harder I press, the bigger the dot will be. So I can get these varied stars to be different sizes, so they're not all the same. I like it. All right, let's go back to our main color. I'm going to add some shading, as I often do here, just to give it a little extra feeling of depth and texture. Doing the coloring the first time in that way helps, but then if you just, back to a smaller brush. Just come in and add the brush along the bottom lines of things, or anywhere it looks like there might be a shadow. It just adds that little extra oomph. Let's do the same thing here with the not dark enough. There we go. Like that. It's still, pretty loose, and I don't know, sloppy is exactly the word I'd use, but it's loose. But you see how that helps bring that look when you look at it. It feels more intentional and textured. I'm going to come back to that layer and one more time erase that. There we go. All right. Weirdly, that whole blue thing still a little too dark. So again, I'm going to do what I said before, and I'm going to drop the opacity a little. You see how that stops being so. Right now, that color really competes with the characters in the front. I don't. I want it to be a background, so I'm going to drop it just a little. We're at 20% there. It's maybe a lot, but there we go. Now those characters pop out a lot more. And I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to call this one good. So I'll come... What did I just do? Undo that. All right, go back to the lines layer. And I'm going to turn this layer off for a second. And I'm going to have... I want to give the Mindflayer something to say. He's going to say... It's full of stars. And brains. Brains. And that is what our Mindflayer is going to be thinking. Now, of course, if I turn this background on, it's not going to be able to see that. So I'm going to do something here that I'm going to do something which is called reference. So there, hit reference, and then I go to the colors layer, and it's going to use those lines from the see how it just filled in there despite the fact that it's on a different layer? It's not on the same layer with the lines, but because I use that line as that layer as reference, that's where it filled in, and only there. All right, and then I'm going to come back to that colored layer and fill in. Whoops. No, fill in, not erase. Fill it in so that we have that. I'm going to go back to that stars layer, and there's where I'm going to erase. There are a few little yellow dots in there. All right, doot, and now it's done. Just got to put my little stand on it, which I will in a second. Come here, and we'll put a little stand here in the corner to signal that we're done with the Mindflayer Stargazing. Ba-da-ba-ba-doop-boop. Let me zoom. I zoomed out a bunch there. There we go. That's our Mindflayer Stargazing. That's a good first drawing, I think. Oh, what's wrong with me? I take a drink and suddenly I'm drooling all over myself. Okay. Drawing number 1, done. Let's come over here, and we will turn off round 1, turn on round 2, and turn back on our random encounter tables. Time to pick a second drawing. So let's come back over to the dice and see what we get for our second randomly generated prompt for the night. Once, twice, a third time is a 5. Well, we already used a 5 on one side. We'll use a 5 on the other side. Our who is 5, and our what is 3. 5 and a 3. So that is going to be a beholder on graduation day. Okay. Beholder on graduation day. Let me think about that for a second before I go scooting on off there. I'm going to come over to, turn that off, come back to our sketch layer, Go back to blue because I like to sketch in blue. And beholder, of course, if you don't know, is a round magical creature, big spheroid thing with a big eye and a mouth, and 10 eye stalks, uh, each of which has a different magical ability. That's a cute little beholder. We'll get rid of him. So we want a beholder on graduation day. Um, so, trying to think of a gag already, but let's start with drawing the beholder. So we're going to have a beholder. And want to have a graduation cap. And beholders are said to be genius level, awful, evil things. So, I think whatever's going on, there we go. He's going to be mad. Now, what's he mad? What's he mad about? He didn't. He wasn't valedictorian when he thought he should be. Was it? Is this his graduation speech? He's trying to be inspirational and motivational to the others. Here's your motivation. Get out of there. Get out of here and get a job. I don't know. What do you guys think? What can what can it be that has our beholder so mad on graduation day? You know what? I could just draw the beholder and move him around, come back. That's what I'm going to do. You guys think about this for a bit. I'm also going to think while I'm drawing, but what do you think? What is it that has our beholder so mad? So, whatever is going on, this is what the beholder is going to look like. Now, we've got to come up with what it is that's going on that's caused him. What's his reason for? Is he let's say, is he at the lectern giving a speech? Is he? Wow, some of those lines didn't come out so nice. Is he blasting his fellow graduates? Is he blasting someone from the faculty? What is it? You are responsible for figuring that out. Well, okay, you're not really responsible, but I'm bringing you in on the creative process because I think we get better stuff when I do that. I think that we wind up with funnier stuff, things I wouldn't have come to on my own. I say that, and then Dave will tell you. I say, yes, I want you to tell me stuff, and then I tell you why I won't use what you're telling me. So I apologize if that happens. That's just how I am. I'm not perfect. I'm just an ordinary Stan. But I can draw me a beholder in a graduation cap. So what is it that he's upset about? Maybe, it's the thing that's funny. I'm thinking here is maybe we can give each of the eye stalks a graduation cap too. That's maybe he's mad because he only gets one diploma. That's a possibility. I'm doing your job for you. I'm preparing in case you guys are gonna lay down on the job. But don't let me down. Don't let me down. What is it that has our beholder so unhappy? Probably going to come in and add some tassels to all those graduation caps. Right now, I'm not worrying about it. I already like the way this is coming out. It's a good sign, I think, when I amuse myself, and this is definitely amusing me. All right. I'm going to make sure that I keep a line here between the cap and the mortar. And I'm going to wind up coloring that. I'm going to make it a dark blue. And it's going to look like it's a single single piece. It's not going to look like it's separated like it does now. There we go. Getting to the point where we're going to need that answer. How you guys doing on that? I'm not looking up. How you guys doing on an answer for why? Why is our beholder so angry on graduation day? Do here. Give the little tassels. Here we go. All right, there is an angry graduating beholder. What do we got? I'm going to come over here to the chat now and find out what you've got for me. What do you got for me? That's not how I pronounce my name. Got a C in phys ed, which hurt his GPA. Uh, diploma in his diploma in mouth. Well, that's anything that requires me to go back and redraw too much is gonna already. There we go. There's my first reason to veto something. I've already drawn past that. Although I mean, it could be they want to put the diploma in his mouth, and he says no. But that's a little more hard to get the gag out of that in a single panel. And that's something I will say a lot. Dave, I'm sure, is tired of hearing me say that to his ideas. Yeah, it's a funny thing, not for one panel. Maybe I'm just not cartoonist enough to make it happen. I'm willing to admit that. All right, no diploma in the envelope. God, I hated it. That happened to me. Yeah, when you graduate and you get an empty diploma case, we'll mail it to you in a few months. Trust us. No hands to flip the tassel over. Stop throwing your hats around. You can take someone's eye out. that's that's funny. Um, what do you mean eyes on the prize? All right, so here we go. Going to zoom out so we can see the whole thing. I'm now going to have to grab both these two layers so I can move them around. You're going to make him bigger. And now we're going to come back to the sketch layer alone. And we're going to sketch again. Because we've got to put in whatever it is. I like the stop throwing those things you can take someone's eye out. I like that. Of course, they're wearing robes too, so. This guy will still be holding it. Hasn't thrown it yet. Maybe that'll be an elf. Alright. And if I grab them and make them a little bigger, that'll take up a little more room here on the page. That'll make a nice little cartoon. Alright. Look at us working together. So come back to the lines layer. And we'll have our elf here. Have just thrown. Ooh. Remember that I want to put the hair, I want a longish hair. And just thrown the cap with abandon, like you do at a graduation. But that didn't make our beholder very happy. Suppose the question now is, what we don't need to answer it. I love questions that we don't need to answer. But if someone were to come and ask, is the beholder one of the graduates or one of the staff members who's telling the graduates to behave? If we were going to tell this if we were going to do this as more of the kind of story I say we're not, right? This is just a single panel cartoon. But in this single panel cartoon, there certainly is an implied story that's going on. And jokes work when the implied story can remain implied and the joke and the gag is still funny. They don't when the story cannot be implied. It needs to be known in order for the punchline to make any sense. And in this case, we don't need to know the answer to whether or not the beholder is on staff or one of the graduates for this joke to make sense, which is why it works. Have I just sucked all of the fun out of this? Sorry. All right, well. Changing this character while we're drawing him. Not an elf at all. Ooh, remember that they've got long sleeves. Guess maybe he did throw it. Or I'm going to have to move it down lower. We will just move it down lower, like this. Getting quiet here for a sec, sorry. Just concentrating on what I'm doing when I really should be chatting to you folks. There we go. Alright, so if I now take the sketch out from underneath, we can see what's going on and find out where I need to add a couple of extra lines. There we go. And we can now come to our colors layer and add some colors in there. So we'll start by getting back to that gloaming brush. Let's start with our beholder. I usually will draw the beholder as kind of a grayish green. Beholders come in all sorts of colors, though, and all sorts of variant shapes. You go back and look at, certainly between editions of Dungeons and Dragons. If you look, you'll see that the style of beholders changes a lot from edition to edition. But even within an edition, they tend to have a lot of variant shapes. The things that are the same is it's one big eye, a central blobby body with a big eye, and then 10 eye stalks. But sometimes those eye stalks are uh, very much like tentacles with small little beady eyes about. Sometimes they're kind of nubby. Sometimes they're very long. And sometimes they're very snaky. It's just uh, there's a lot of room for maneuvering, a lot of room for personal taste in what your beholder looks like. Go. That's what my beholder looks like. Now, I said before I'm going to come in here with the blue. I'm going to have a dark blue. I'm going to zap that in there, and that suddenly makes the whole thing feel like a single piece. So I'll put that in on all of the hats, anywhere there's a little white showing. I think we'll have a golden color for the tassel. I do love. I'm still giving myself a chuckle out of all the eye stalks having their own graduation caps. I crack myself up. And then we're going to come and put some color on our overly excited graduates. Our graduates who are maybe celebrating a little too much, certainly for the beholder's taste. Color there. And then we're going to come back again to that faux black for the gowns, for the robes. Like so. I added this very last minute to the list, this graduation day. I was trying to remember things, now that we're almost through June, what are things that happen in June that I want to put in here for possibilities for drawing. I'm glad that this came up because I probably should have had it as an option for the last couple of weeks, and it hadn't even occurred to me. If it hadn't gotten picked by early July, I was just going to take it off because we'd have gotten past the real graduation season. But thankfully, the dice helped out, as they often do. The dice, as they say, do not lie. Alright, so I'm adding some more of that little bit of shadowing to give it the texture and three-dimensionality. I don't know that I think maybe the beholder's the only one who needs it. But, what the heck. Let's give it to our graduates too. They earned it, right? They're graduating. They deserve a little shading. It's a good sign when I can crack myself up. Maybe it's not a good sign for you, but it certainly means I'm having fun, which is what this is all about, as I said at the beginning. And so the beholder is going to be saying, quit chucking those. You could take out an eye. Take an eye out. Quit chucking those. You could take an eye out. And we'll just add a little bit there because our beholder is floating as they generally are. Maybe we'll even add in a little sorry. Awesome. I like it. I'm going to put my stand here in the bottom. And we have Beholder on graduation day for our second drawing of the evening. Yeah. Brrr, boom. Oh, hey, Naitomi. Naitomi. Great interview with Doug last night. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, those of you who may be watching this, I know everyone in the room knows this, or everyone who's chatted so far knows this. But on Wednesday nights, I have another show which is called 50 years in the dungeon, where I do interviews with people who worked on Dungeons and Dragons. This is 2024 is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons as a game and as role playing as a hobby. So I'm interviewing people who have worked on the game over the years, and while I'm having those chats, I also do some drawings. I draw cartoon homages to classic D&D art, very often product covers. And last night my guest was Doug Niles. And thank you very much. Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun. That conversation was a lot of fun, which kind of like these drawings. If I'm having fun, then I guess I consider the show that the show is good, and hopefully other people will enjoy it too. All right, have a little sip here. Mmm. Oh, how sweet it is. And I will now come back and we will close out round 2, open up round 3, and come back to our random encounter tables for one more try. We're going to do one more drawing and then we will call it a night. So, here we go. We're going to come over to our roller, our die rolling app, and we're going to see what we get for a who and a what. Once, twice, a third time, a 3 for our who. I don't think we've had a 3 on the who, have we? No, I don't think so. 3 on a who, and a once, a twice, and a third time, a 4 on our what. So, what have we got there? A 3 and a 4. That is a vampire wedding vows. All right. Vampire wedding vows. Another June thing I put. Wedding vows, of course, weddings can be any time of year. Weddings happen all the time. But June is that traditional month when you want to do something which is bridal. If you're doing cartoons, they'll come up all the time. June is wedding time. People get married in June. All right, so vampire wedding vows. Feel free to throw ideas out if you got them. Things I can work on. Because right off the top of my head, not an immediate idea for a gag on this. Till death do you part. Yeah. Yes. That's a good. You know what? That's a good gag right there, Becky. I think I'm gonna go with that right there. The first thing I'm thinking about is I was gonna draw it in the church, but you can't have it in the church, can you? Right? The vampires can't come in the church, but so it's gonna be maybe a Beetlejuice-esque wedding here. And we'll have some kind of demon performing the ceremony. Making the horn sign because that's a demonic thing to do. And I'm just realizing maybe didn't want to draw that head on like that. All right, let's erase that and do it again. We haven't gotten so far that clearing that out and doing it again is going to affect me. All right, so because of the pacing of the joke, I'm going to want the officiant to be on this side and our 2 vampires to be on this side. So we can have till death do you part, and then but we're already dead up on top. So here we go. One more time. Have them there. going to be smiling a big, fangy smile. He's still going to have a book in front of him. He's going to be doing the horn sign. Like that. Let me erase these stick figures here. We've got Ditko fingers. Yes, Ditko fingers. And then we'll have our bride and groom here. Now am I going to make sure that he looks like vampires? There we go. Let's get rid of that arm in case you're wondering. There we go. Looking good. Let's grab all that, make it a little bigger here on the page. Because I'm not drawing a lot of background. And we'll go to our lines layer and start a working. Got a demonic creature here. With wavy horns, because that's an evil looking thing. Yeah, it's looking good. Ditko fingers. Does anyone else want to just say whip every time they see fingers poised that way? And then we're going to have our vampire. Guess we'll have him bald in what's the Nosferatu-ish kind of way. It's fancy. He got dressed up. I mean, he's getting married, right? Got to give him tails. His bride. Trying to find a way to make her look bridish and yet also gothy. I know I've got a lot of friends in the goth community that I've worked with and gamed with and befriended over the years. Exactly what kind of hairstyle? It's just a short hairstyle with that. Have gloves on, long arm length gloves. Her upper arms are just a little too heavy for what everything else is going on there. There we go. That's better. All right. I think that's basically what we need line wise. Let's turn out the sketch and see what we've got. See what might need to be added. A few extra lines here or there. There we go. That's looking good. Oh, bouquet. Oh, black rose. Oh, black rose in her hairpiece. Maybe black rose up there. That's not looking like that's going to be too. That's not going to read right. I like that idea, but I think that for the sketchiness of this, I'm going to say that I don't see a way that I won't screw that up. I'm not going to say anything wrong with the idea or why it shouldn't be done, except that I don't see any way I wouldn't screw that up right now, given what we've done so far. All right, so let's. let's just go in and color this. Maybe give him also long fingernails. All right, so for colors, we're going back to our gloaming brush. We're going to go back, we're going to have a red, demonic red creature. Maybe slightly reminiscent of darkness from Legend, from the Tom Cruise, Tim Curry movie, Legend. I think we're going to want the horns to be black. And the robe to be some kind of, that's maybe a little too dark. But green robe. So, looking pretty gnarly. And then we'll go with a golden trim, just because it's fancy. Use that same blue to fill in on the book, so it looks like uh, a leather binding. Our vampires are also going to have a pale purple coloring, like I had for the, maybe even paler though, like I had for the Mindflayer. I like to do vampires as purple skin. I don't know where I picked that up from. Not, not the right color. There we go. That's a better color. There. We're going to again use that black, definitely black gloves. Black hat. Maybe another little too black. There we go. A different purplish black for the dress. His tuxedo, a different black. See again, when you start playing around with these different dark blues and purples and colors in lieu of black, and see how you can make things multiple things in the same drawing appear to be black, but it's clearly they're not the same black. They're not the same color. The same way in life, you'll see different kinds of black, different shades of black and white. That if you were asked, you just describe it as black, but you can see there's a spectrum of different things that you would call black. There we go. So now we'll come back to the lines layer and our inking brush and black color, and we'll put in Becky's lovely suggestion. And it's going to be ... till death do you part. Say, I'm going to go back and redo that, but we're make the brush bright, and I'm going to have already but we're already dead. That last D does not look like a D. And I'll stick a little stand there in the bottom to indicate that it's done. We did it. We got another one. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't have any shading. Let's put a little shading. These guys are having their wedding. We can't let them go unshaded. So come back to the gloaming brush again and grab some of that purple, make it a little darker, and put some places where we want a little emphasis on the right syllable. There we go. And the red, I don't know. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to go for any of the clothes because they seem not to matter as much here. They're all very monotone. I'm not sure how much adding in a little stressing shade is going to help them out. Yeah. I think that all works fine the way it is. There we go. Vampire Wedding Vows with Gag by Becky. Well done, Becky. There we go. It's our third drawing for the evening. We got it all done. When we did it all in an hour and 20 minutes. The elves did it all in one night. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. Will I be able to get Ed back? Yes. So yes, I will be able to get Ed back. I have, I believe now, finally solved those techno demons. I didn't solve them so much as the software I use got an upgrade, which will solve it, which will probably solve it for me. So I will be reaching out to Ed. I know that it's convention season. We're talking about Ed Greenwood here. So I know it's convention season, which makes it a little more difficult. But yes, I will be having Ed Greenwood on 50 Years in the Dungeon as soon as we can get our... as soon as I confirm that the problems have been solved, and as soon as I can find a mutually convenient time for him and me. So yes, Ed Greenwood will be a guest. He has promised, and I have promised. We have both promised. It will happen. Whew. All right, have one little drink, and we'll do a wrap up, and then we can all go into the rest of our Thursday nights. So, everyone ready? Places, everyone, places. Another good night of random encounters. We've had 3 good ones. This one here, our final one, was Vampire Wedding Vows. Before that, we had Beholder Graduation Day. And before that, before that, we had Mindflayer Stargazing. So 3, actually, I think that, some weeks I do 3 of these, and I think, one of them turned out really good, or one of them didn't. This week, I think all 3 of these turned out great. And that's not as a praise to me. You guys are what made that happen. We pulled it all together. We did it. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to come back and put just me on the screen again. Thank you for tuning in. I've talked a little bit about that other show, 50 Years in the Dungeon, so it seems like a good time to put up this link. 50yearsinthedungeon.substack.com. That is a free newsletter to go along with the show. You'll get all the updates on who the guests are and when things are happening. You'll also be the first people to get to see the finished artwork. You get to see it ahead of everyone by at least a few days, sometimes as much as a week. If you get the free newsletter. You can also become a paid subscriber, in which case you get extra things, including a weekly process video, which is a 1 to 2 minute video showing the whole piece going, how it comes together step by step. They're a lot of fun. But as I say, 90% of what you want is going to be in the free version. So why not go sign up over there? 50 Years in the Dungeon.substack.com. If you want to see all the other stuff that I'm doing, there hasn't been a lot recently, but whenever I'm doing any other drawing that's getting posted publicly, it will show up on my Instagram. Instagram.com/Stanex. STANNEX. Stanex. So check that out. It's also free, What's not free, but is, a fine place. If you want to come and hang out and be part of my I don't want to say entourage, my community. Community is the word I was looking for. Entourage makes me sound like a real jerk. If you want to be part of the broader Stanex community, patreon.com/Stanex is the place you want to go. There are different levels you can pledge at, and you get different rewards depending on which one you choose. So go ahead, go check it out, if nothing else. Go have a look. Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. Becky and Dave and I don't know. Don't remember who Naitomiya is. Naitomiya, thank you. Thank you, everyone who's watching. I noticed we've had a bunch of people who've been watching and not commenting, which is A-okay. No pressure to you, my friends. Just enjoy the show. I will be back next week, next Thursday, with another episode of Random Encounters. I will be back next Wednesday with another episode of 50 Years in the Dungeon. And I will be home doing drawing and having a good time this weekend. But you're not going to see that because I'm not going to stream it. Sorry. That's just for me. Hope you have a good weekend too, and I will see you next time. Bye now.